Please welcome to the stage your scream queen, Danielle Harris.
I had to come out and see what it was. I didn't know you guys put together a little video.
You had to get your greatest hits.
Yes, makes me miss Tony Todd.
Oh, God.
The best.
What a way to start, Danielle.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, God, that must have been amazing.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
These lights are really bright.
They really are. They really are. Is there any way we can turn some of these just down just a touch? So we can, have corneas after this. Appreciate you. How you doing? Having a good weekend?
Good. This weekend's been great.
I want to start off with news that I just saw. There's an official Jamie Lloyd action figure
Yes, there is.
coming out. Can you tell us about that?
I just saw it like you guys did.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, finally they're making a Jamie Michael action figure.
Yeah, it's a double set, right?
Usable in like 7 different ways, or I don't know, that's weird, but I don't know what she would be doing other than
different
this.
angles with the knife, I suppose.
Yeah, that's really cool, so I'm excited about that.
That's amazing.
And I think Halloween 4 and 5 were released in theaters this weekend.
Yes.
I don't know where, but
Yeah.
that would be cool.
But that's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I wanted to ask you, you started at such a young age, and I know probably some of you don't remember because you weren't alive yet, but I remember you from a little thing called One Life to Live.
Yes.
Do you have any, when you did that show, did that help you as a training ground for the rest of your career? Because that tends to be the thing that people say when they work on soap operas, that it's a really good training
but I think
ground.
I was only on it for about a year before I did Halloween, but definitely, they're two totally different things, so, but I think as far as memorizing dialogue and knowing how to cry and do all of that stuff, it definitely prepared me for it. But I was already taking acting classes and stuff like that before I had even went to New York to do the soap opera. But definitely, I actually did a podcast a few weeks ago with Shelley Birch, who played Delilah, my mom, on the show. And I hadn't talked to her or seen her since I was 11 when I left the show. And she said to me, oh my God, when you went away to do Halloween, all the actors on the show were like, she's a movie star, she's coming back and she's starring in this big movie. And I was like, I just remember looking at these people like they were famous because my grandma and my mom had watched soap operas for so many years, so I was seeing them on TV growing up, and now they're looking at me like, oh my God, you're doing these movies. So I still see them on TV and think of them like, they're famous.
Do you have any lessons that you learned from your years as a child actor that you still carry with you now as an adult?
To never let your kids be in the business. Pretty much, I'm definitely not a fan of kids in the business.
No? Is there anything?
People always ask me, would you have your kids? I'm like, I'll fucking kill them.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. They're not really interested. They're interested in sports and doing their thing. And maybe if they had their YouTube channel, but I would not allow any of that to happen.
Are they familiar with your work? Are they horror fans?
They tell everybody about their mom, so I don't think they know really what they're saying.
Yeah.
They just, we went to Spirit the other day to get them costumes, and of course I walk in, I'm like, I'll put my hat on real quick. And I said to Jagger, I said to my sister, can you take the kids? Because I want to find something for me, because I never get to do anything on Halloween. And so I went looking, and Jagger, my younger one's like, well, who are you going to be, Mom? You just going to be you?
It's a great costume.
I was like, no, Jagger, I'm not going to be me. I'm going to be something else. So I went as Richard Simmons.
That's a great choice.
I had the wig. I was on a cruise. I don't want to bring a lot of stuff. I was like, I'll throw on some cute little shorts and a little cutoff sweatshirt, and I'm about the right size. So it was actually a Bob Ross wig, and I just tied a bandana around it and called it a day. But of course, I was checking out. The guy at the front, he's like, did anyone ever tell you? I'm like, there we go. He's like, you look just like Danielle Harris. I was like, I am her. He was like, really?
I would be way too tempted to be like, yeah, I get that all the time.
And then of course, my kids, and then he's seeing what am I buying? I'm buying a blow-up cow. I'm gonna blow up 7-foot rubber chicken. Like, this is what I'm getting at Spirit. And he's like, do people recognize you all the time? I was in a small town in Texas at the Spirit too. And I said, no, it depends on where I am. If I'm in a Spirit Halloween, the likelihood is pretty high, but normally not so much.
So you were famously in the Halloween reboot with Rob Zombie. Can you tell us about something that fans might be surprised to hear about your experience on that film?
Well, I wasn't given the job, so most of you probably know that already. People do come up still and ask, like, how did you get involved? And did he just call you and want you in it? And the truth was that Rob did not want anyone from any of the other sequels involved in it. He wanted to start fresh. And so I managed to coerce casting, or my manager did, to coerce casting to allow me to just come audition for it. And then I think once I got in the room, they were like, oh crap, kind of won you over. But I just heard from Piggy, who was in Rob's band, I just heard from him that when Rob was casting the movie and kind of getting things prepared, that he didn't really know much about Halloween 4 and 5, that he hadn't watched them. So Piggy sat down with him and had him watch the movies, and he, of course, talked through the whole thing, and I guess Rob was getting pissed because he was talking and he wanted to watch it. So it wasn't like Rob was like a diehard Halloween 4 or 5 fan, and that's why he had to have me once he saw me. So I think it just sort of maybe fit the bill for the character.
I feel like that makes it cooler because from your way in, it wasn't, you
sure. I mean, listen, I hadn't done, at that point, I had done one horror movie in 20 years. Everyone always thinks like, oh, I do all these horror movies. Like, after Halloween 5, I didn't do anything until Urban Legend, briefly, and then 2007 with the other Halloweens. So it's, it's interesting little life.
Yeah. So we are gonna get some questions from the audience. If you have a question, we have a mic right here. Start lining up, start thinking of your question.
Nobody's gonna step up to the mic.
Don't be shy, please. I promise it's gonna be safe.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Hello.
Hi.
A huge fan, and obviously, coming to something like this kind of makes us a little starstruck because you're so incredible. But
thanks.
You do a lot of horror conventions. When was the last time you were starstruck by someone that you met?
Oh gosh. Okay, I love trash TV, so if I could be a BravoCon, I would be there right now, and I would be in front row, VIP. I'd spend $10,000 on autographs by all of those crazy housewives. I don't know what it is. I can't wait to get home and binge watch all of them that I missed by being on the Disney cruise last week. So that I haven't really found anything that I'm really into, but so it's always been a little bit weird to understand your guys' perspective. It's an awkward thing to collect money for a signature, and then I started to understand it or put it in a different perspective recently, and it kind of made sense. I was like, oh, the picture and the signature is the receipt for the experience that you have with us. You can show it, and then it brings up the conversation, because you're not going to go around and just tell everybody, oh, I met this person, but it's the receipt. So the last famous person I saw that I freaked out about was years ago. I was going to an audition, I think I was in Warner Brothers, and I was late, and I was running, I hate elevators, so I was running up the stairs, and in the stairwell on the phone was Lionel Richie.
Wow.
Yeah, and I am a huge Lionel Richie fan, so I literally was running up, and as I was turning, he turned towards me, and it was one of those oh fuck, oh my god, don't be stupid, just keep walking,
Cool, Danielle, be cool.
Oh my god, I was oh my god, it was Lionel Richie. So that was a pretty exciting thing.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
I just have a question about your transition from Disney to horror, because the first movie I saw you in was Wish Upon a Star back in the 90s. So I was just curious about how your transition was going from young Disney kid to horror.
Well, it was the opposite, ironically enough. So horror first, and then I started to do a lot of action movies for some odd reason. It was just the time. I think I did like 3 action movies back to back almost. And then that movie was not supposed to be on Disney. It was a totally different, like independent, Utah, very Mormon company. I was the only non-Mormon. I was like smoking cigarettes at the time and, you know, drinking and like hiding it in my trailer because I didn't want anybody to know that I was, you know, a bad kid. So I auditioned for that movie on a Friday, and I was on a plane on a Sunday going to shoot it. And they had a hard time casting Wish Upon a Star because the character has to go from younger to older. And they kept auditioning. Katherine Heigl was cast, and they kept auditioning all these girls for the younger sister by bringing in younger people. And I came in older than Katherine, but looked way younger. So I spent more of the movie, I know this wasn't your question, but I spent more of the movie playing the older sister. So I think that was like an aha moment for them of, oh wait, we've been doing it wrong. We should have done it this way. And then, because I was, I think I was 3 or 4 years older than her at the time. I could still play like 14 briefly. I mean, shit, Rob Zombie's Halloween, I was 30 playing 17 against a real 17-year-old, so good genes, I guess. I don't know. But I found my way back into, I've always loved the horror community. I've always been a part of it over the years anyway, even though I wasn't doing other stuff. And I've auditioned for lots of horror movies over the years, just never got the job. So I was like, damn, And then later, it's like Hatchet. I went and auditioned for Adam Green, but didn't get it. And then he calls me to do the second one because the other girl's now too expensive. I was like, just say you're sorry that you didn't cast me. Yeah, just admit it.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. Thanks.
Hi, Danielle. Thanks for being here. Just a quick question. So recently on Instagram or one of your socials, you had posted a picture of the last Boy Scout and expressing some fondness of that time and some of the lines you were given. So I just want to know if you could elaborate a little about where you were at in your career to be a part of this like high-octane thriller film and what that was like for you at that age.
I am almost glad I had no idea back then what I was doing because I would have been probably scared to be a part of a movie that big. That was such a big deal, and I just didn't know it. I knew there's no social media. It was like I had no phone. You know what I mean? Like we had nothing, so I didn't know. Actually, when I auditioned for, when I had my final audition for The Last Boy Scout, it was me and one other girl, and it was actually this girl from, remember that show Alien Nation? Like she was on Alien Nation. So it was her and I, and it was, Tony Scott in the room, and Jill Silver in the room, and the producer Barry Josephson, and Bruce was there, and I went in, and after I read, he was like, let me ask you something. What's your favorite movie of mine? I was like, well, I like Moonlighting because I love Sybil Shepherd. I don't watch your movies. And he was like, you are a little bitch. And it was just the truth. I mean, Moonlighting was always on my TV growing up, but it wasn't like I was watching it for Bruce Willis, I only knew of his movies really after I had worked with him. And so I think that kind of helped a little bit. And Tony Scott was amazing. Bruce was a little bit of a dick, but I think that's just his thing. But I love Damon Wayans. We had a great time, and I have billing above Halle Berry in that movie, and I still point that out when I see it. And then the opening scene that Jimmy Dix, the football, not Jimmy Dix, the football guy that blows his head off in the opening, that is Billy Blanks, like Tybo Billy Blanks, right? He made some money after that movie. Tybo, I was taking classes. I was like, remember me? You're famous now. You're on my infomercials every night.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. And next.
Oh no, you're falling apart now.
I'm falling apart. I'm a little late, but what was it like to work with Rob Zombie?
Rob's great. Rob's, you guys know I hate this question, right? I'm just kidding. No, but you know, Rob's great. He's super creative. One of the funny things about Rob is that he likes to listen. He probably won't admit it, but I know he does. He likes to listen to like us talking. Like he'll sit the monitor when they're setting up other shots, and like you don't realize you're mic'd, and like the director has his headphones on, and he's just like chilling and hearing like Scout and I and the girls talk about boys or whatever drama we were talking about. And then the next day we'd come to work and there would be slight revisions in dialogue that sounded very similar to the conversations that we were having the day before. So we were like, are you listening to our conversations? And he was just like, I just listen to you guys talk. Like, you're giving me ideas, you know? I don't know how to write for 16-year-olds. So I'm just listening to you. It's like, okay, that does make sense because it does sound like girl talk, you know? But yeah, he's totally listening to our conversations. Sneaky, smart, but sneaky.
Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Hi.
I just wanted to say, you have been my favorite in 4 and 5 growing up. And I was just wondering, my question is, what was your favorite thing about getting to play as Michael Myers' niece?
Ooh, you know, so now's the time of year where I get to rewatch these movies, and because they're on TV nonstop throughout the month. But memories come back to me as I'm watching the film. You know, most of it is like, oh my God, how could I have ever done that? My kids are, you know, 7 and 8, and my nephew's 10, and I'm like, I can't even imagine, like, having my kid. They'd be, actually none of my kids, only one of my kids would probably want to do that stuff. The other one would be like, hell no, I'll be over here playing Roblox. And it's crazy to think that, you know, all the stunts that we had to do really was like, the thing that sticks out to me more than anything, and I am only remembering that as I see them, and then I don't remember how we did them. And I was at a convention a couple weeks ago with Don Shanks, who's Michael in 5, and I was asking, it's on my Instagram actually, like a little, you can't hear us well because it was at the con, but I was asking him, like for the first time, hey, how did you guys set up the laundry chute shot? Like, because I remember a real knife going through that aluminum, you know, it was an air conditioning vent that they turned sideways. It wasn't a real laundry chute. But I wasn't harnessed, or they would just like lower me into this thing, and I would just wedge myself in there and just hope that I don't slip or anything. And then he would just, you know, they would have the camera above and it'd be shooting down, and there would just be a real butcher knife going through the metal. And I was like, Don, how could you ever let me do that? He was like, you wanted to do it. I was scared, but you wanted to do it. I was like, you can't say that you were scared. He said, I was nervous, you know, because he's like, we drew a line on the outside of the chute, because he was on the other side. I was enclosed in there. So he's like, we just drew a line, and I just knew that I had to stab below where the line was. I was like, oh, great. So those are my, you know, I have these very silly memories, but overall, I'm you know, I survived.
Thank you for your question. Hi.
Did you like working on Roseanne? Because my mommy watched it as a little girl.
Oh, I think we all watched it. I loved working on Roseanne because of Roseanne. You know, I went back, and that was the first time I'd ever done a sitcom in my life. So to be asked to do a live audience show for the first time, I'd never even been on a soundstage like that before. And to be asked to come on, and I was supposed to do 17 episodes. I think I did like 12 or something. It was really scary. You know, there's a bunch of people watching. You have to remember all your lines in one day. It's like a whole other thing. And Tom and Roseanne were like getting a divorce during that season, and that was really interesting to watch happen on set. And you know, Roseanne's absolutely crazy, but I love her. You know, she's great, and it was a bummer that when I came back on the Connors this year, that she wasn't there, because it was not the same. Yeah. Sarah was always, you know, a little like similar to her character with me. I was a lot like Molly, like wanting to be her friend and like, you know, oblivious to certain things. And, you know, Sarah was a little bit older than me, so a little bit of like, okay, go over there. So it worked.
We loved your arc on that show, definitely.
Thank you.
I'm a Roseanne girl too. Thank you for your question. Do you have any other questions? I got more, that's okay, but I know some of you are working up the nerve. I know that's what's happening. Hi.
Hi, big fan.
Thank you.
You've had such an awesome career. Is there a movie role that you regret not doing that, you know, your agent said, you know, this would be good for your career, and then you said no to it, but you look back on it that you regret?
Oh no, I do everything. You guys, I signed some of those DVDs this weekend. You guys know I do almost everything. Just kidding. That's actually not true. You should see some of the shit that I get offered that I will not do. There's no movies that I was told not to do. There are a few jobs that I didn't get that I really wanted and was really upset that I didn't get them. But only 3, actually, in my whole career that I like actually cried over. And could have totally changed my trajectory of my career. You know, one was that 70s show. It was between myself and Laura Prepon for Donna. So when I'd come off of Roseanne, it was the same, you know, Carson Warner. So that would have been a very nice job for however many years. And then the other one, I lost out to the same bitch. Fucking Nev Campbell. One was Party of 5. So I had auditioned like 5 times for the role of Julia. And I remember I was going back to Fox Network and I was read all the Bailey. If everyone watched Party of 5 growing up, you know? So Scott Wolf, like I had auditioned all the Baileys and he got the job, and then now it was like, okay, again and again and again. They just couldn't figure it out with my character, with me for some reason. And then Network, so Hollywood and so wrong, Network had called my agent and said, so the reason why they're not sure about Danielle is they're wanting someone a little sexier. And I was like, sexier? She's 15 in it, and like the scene I'm reading, I'm in a library talking about how I've never kissed a boy before, and I mean, maybe I was just more like,
no, that's gross.
Boyish or something. I don't know. It was weird.
That's just gross.
So they had me come back and dress sexy. So I remember distinctly walking in, and it was sexy. I was in like a sundress and heels. Probably not the sexy they were looking for, you know, but I didn't know. So I was like, this is sexy. And Nev had just come from Canada. I didn't know her. She was like an actress, a Canadian actress that like I'd never seen on auditions before. And I was like, who's this girl? And she was wearing a tube top and overalls. And I was like, what the fuck?
That's the most 90s attire I've ever heard.
Sure. I was like, I feel so stupid. Like I'm in here in a dress and heels.
Yeah.
She's in overalls.
Yeah.
So she got the job, but I guess that was kind of probably what they were looking for. You know, she was chustier than me and she was a little bit older. You know, she was like 18. I think I was 16. So I understand it now as an adult and like, you know, icky producers like trying to sell TV. So I understand it. And then I screen tested for The Craft. And then now I knew who she was and she was there. And I was like, son of a bitch. And she got the damn job. So those are the 2 things I lost out. But I love Nev. And I actually did a convention with her in Germany I was pregnant at the time, a couple of years ago. And she sat next to me. I'd never met her before outside of those stories. And I was like, oh God, I have to tell her that I hate her. Can I just tell her, like, I don't know if you remember me, but remember the girl in the hallway with the dress and the heels for Party of 5? Yeah, that was me. Like, but I just said, you know, I'm Danielle, you know, obviously know who you are. I was like, you used to beat me out on auditions all the time. So I just kind of left it at. She was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. It's like, she's so not sorry. You're famous, bitch. But whatever. So that was.
Have you ever auditioned for a Scream movie?
No, but I actually, just last week, ironically enough, I just so happened to decide to write Kevin Williamson on Instagram because I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. And I just wrote him and was like, you're on my bucket list. I would absolutely love to work with you anytime. And I just left it at that. I haven't heard back, but you know, maybe.
Did he leave you on red? Did he leave you on red?
Did what?
Did he read your message?
I don't think so.
That's all right. We'll get Kevin Williamson. Where's the camera?
That'd be
Scream
amazing.
8.
I mean, I auditioned for Dawson's Creek, and he was like, "I'm a huge fan," and I was like, "Oh God, maybe I'll get this job," you know. And then, you know, I didn't. So
that's all right. We're gonna start a petition. I've started several petitions this weekend, so I think we'll add it to the bucket. All right. Thank you for your question. Anyone else? No? Okay. If you work up the nerve.
just so you know, I am leaving early today, so I don't want anyone to miss out. I have to be in my car at 2 o'clock, and I have a photo op after this. So if you haven't come and seen me and you want to, come see me earlier.
Yeah.
So I know you said you're not a fan of kids going into the business. What advice would you give to women specifically in the business that want to continue to excel or learn and grow in the industry?
Don't rely on the fact that you're a woman. Because it's still, you know, you still have to be qualified for the job and do your due diligence and you know, and it's still harder. You know, there's two things happening now as a woman. You're either getting jobs just because you're a woman, or you're not getting a job because you're a woman. So it's an interesting, the world's shifting, and it shifted and it's shifted back and it shifted again, and you know, it's this business is really hard right now, and I don't understand it. You know, I'm old school, so I'm very much like, I still like to pick up the phone and, you know, talk to my agent on the phone, and now everything's virtual and this and that, and it's moving really fast. I don't know if it's just because I'm like menopausal or old or whatever, but like my brain doesn't process any of this shit. You know, I'm still figuring out how to do Chat GPT. I just downloaded it, so I'm like, where's my glasses? Hold on a second. I can't see. What is going on here? So you just have to continue to do it, you know, stay ahead of the game and, you know, just keep trucking at it. It's hard. It's still hard though.
Yeah, the hustle's real. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, you stepped behind the camera for several projects. Do you think that your experience as an actor helped you as a director, and if so, how?
For sure. Actors are pain in the asses. And they all like to work differently, and they all like to be coddled, and some are awesome and you would never expect them to like show up like that, and others that you expect to show up just don't. So it's a really interesting thing, and you kind of have to know how to deal with talent, and I think being an actor, you get to see it. So, and it's also really nice when a director understands an actor's way of working, and they hire them because they're capable of doing the job, and they just back off and leave them alone and let them do their job. You know, some of the best directors don't give any notes, and they do 1 or 2 takes. And then there are others that, you know, maybe secretly want to be actors and will make you do it 800 times. So everybody needs to, I mean, every director I work with, it's a totally different situation. But I definitely think that every director should at least take like a few acting classes to kind of have an idea on how to handle actors more so than the craft, because we all have different ways of doing things.
Yeah. Do you think that working with different directors seeped into your approach as a director? Like, did you pick up any tricks from different directors you've worked with?
It's been more of what I maybe don't want to do, you know, more so than
what not to do.
But, you know, honestly, the most of the directors that where I'm really paying attention now have been in the horror world, because it's what I know, and most of those directors are first-time directors or very new directors, and have been a fan of mine for many years and are afraid to direct me, or, you know, ask me to do something, or like Green is the perfect example. He's always like behind the monitor. Have you guys seen the Hatchet movies? So he's always behind the monitor, like forgetting that he's directing me, because he feels like he's watching a movie, you know, and just like, dude, can you just
enjoying your performance?
You call cut? I'm like choking on blood right now, bro. So you know, I have learned to. I like to direct actors. You know, I'm more about the story and the character development, and like, hey, don't forget, this is the first time that you're seeing your girlfriend dead. Remember that as you're like, you know, coming into the room, or like just things that sort of trying to keep the story together. So I think that as a director, you've got to know your story inside and outside, because actors will come up with crazy requests and crazy questions, and you have to be prepared to keep the boat afloat.
Do you have a project of yours? I mean, we saw the highlight reel of some of your more well-known projects. Is there a project that you've done that maybe is a lesser-known project that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, there's a couple actually. One movie that I love is called Stakeland. We won the TIFF Audience Choice Award quite a few years ago, but Nick DiMichi and Connor Paolo and myself, and it's like a vampire road trip. Really kind of heavy, beautiful, beautifully shot, and Christy McNichols. Christy McNichols? No, I didn't see
Christy McNichols, yes.
Wait, that's not who it was.
I don't know. Sorry, I didn't see it.
Top Gun. Christy McGillis. I'm like
Kelly McGillis.
Kelly McGillis.
There you
Christy
go.
McNichols. Kelly McGillis. Yes. Some people in here have no idea who Kelly McGillis is. But it was her first movie back in like 15 or 20 years or something. So I was excited and scared to work with her, and she was great in it. And Jim Mickle directed, and it's just fantastic. So that's like a super sleeper, underrated, horror film. Another one that I'm super proud of performance-wise, the movie's a little but I liked my stuff, was Shiver with John Jarrett. So it was a smaller movie, and I love John Jarrett from Wolf Creek. He's so fantastic. And Casper Van Dien, so he kidnaps me and takes me to his little weird house and plays house with me, and it was a very hard role to do, and I don't ever want to do one like that again, but I was glad that I did it, and I'm happy with the performance.
Yeah, I think it's important to do stuff that challenges you, even if you walk away from it going, I never want to do that thing again.
Yes, exactly. And now, after a while, that people always like, how do you pick your project? I'm like, I want to know if I die, how I die, where I'm shooting, what time of year it is, because I want to know if I'm going to be, outside in January. We're shooting in upstate New York, and you're supposed to be on spring break with your girlfriends, and you're like, oh hell no, I'm not wearing a bathing suit and a dress in minus 10-degree weather and have to shoot outside night shoots for 3 weeks. No, thank you. So there's a little bit of wanting to be comfortable and still be able to sink your teeth in. But if it took place inside or it was a soundstage, I'd be totally down.
So when you find out that you're going to get killed in a role, do you ever request a specific type of death? Because for me, I have a dream of just getting eviscerated on film. If you're going to die, you're going to go big, go home, right?
Like how?
I don't know, getting disemboweled and beheaded.
Disemboweled?
Listen, I want it to go hard. Do you ever have that request? Any kind of request of okay, you're going to
No, I usually
make
take
it nice
parts for how the death is already set up. Or I get on set and go, hey, this would be cooler if we added this to it, that kind of thing. Like the movie Stream that I did, that the Terrifier guys did that are here. I don't know if you guys have seen Stream or not, but I took that movie because the guys were involved and Damien was doing makeup, and the way that my character died. I was like, wow, I've never ever had any death like this before. So that's definitely one of the things that I look at when I pick is what I have to do.
So, do you feel that the horror genre has obviously changed over the years? How do you think it's evolved the most, and do you think it's evolved for the worse or for the better?
A little bit of both. I directed and produced a film with Scout Compton at the end of the year, and we entered our movie into many film festivals and did not get in. And our movie's fucking killer, and stars us and Heather Langenkamp and Robert Mukes, and it's become, my little movie Among Friends that I did, that's nowhere near this movie, did a ton of festivals. And it used to be festivals were for indie filmmakers, really just trying to get, sell their film abroad and get distribution and talk with other filmmakers and connect and do all that stuff. And it was really supportive of us. And now it's just run by studios. So it's a very different, unfortunately, because horror is done so well, you have everyone now wanting a piece of the pie, which really leaves us sort of struggling again. We're still only doing either low budget movies because that, Paranormal Activity idea or Blair Witch is still in people's brains, and Terrifier just kind of solidified that with costing nothing and making $18 billion. So everybody wants to jump on that. So it's been good because it's opened up to all studios now wanting to get their hands in it. But at the same time, I hope they don't ruin it. And it'd be nice to have a little bit of a crossover. But I think for now, it's still going to be, you know, and that's also the bad thing is like, I could star in horror movies, where now, you know, horror movies want movie stars. They don't want horror stars. It's like, people that are gonna go buy this movie are you guys that want us in it, that don't care that it's, you know,
That's true. That's very true.
somebody else and, you know, named Greer in the Halloween.
I don't think.
No, it's like, I could have totally done that, and it would have been even cooler for you guys. So I just think studios, they don't, you know, sometimes they don't really get what we want.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they really do understand the audience, and they understand what the audience wants. I think they see dollar signs and they go for that.
Yeah.
But we're rooting for you anyway.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I don't want to miss anyone because we're running out of time here, and I don't want anyone to regret not asking the question that they've been lingering in their mind. So it's okay. I got you covered, girl. I got you covered. So, do you research when you've taken on a horror role? Do you ever research real life trauma and real life fears to get into the character, or do you draw from your own personal experiences?
I always say, like, there's no way to really, I mean, I guess if there was a certain death or certain things, the thing is, like, nobody knows how you really react. Like, it's hard for me to explain that, but, like, you know, you're getting your head cut off, right? Like I did in Stream. There's no way for me to know what it would actually be like. Because I'm not going to fucking watch it and do research. You know, if there is anything on YouTube or whatever, I don't want to see it ever. But so there are things that you're like, I wonder if my eyes would be open, how quick it would be, like how can I make it realistic? You know, so there's a little bit of that, but there's also no rehearsals for, you know, for the death scenes or for the high energy emotional stuff. You don't have rehearsals, so, you know, if I have a chase scene or a fight scene, or, you know, for example, the scene with Tyler Maine and I and Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one, when I'm hanging out with the boyfriend, and then Michael comes and gets me and chases me into the kitchen, and we have that whole thing. In the script, it was written as that I just run, he hops him off, I run into the kitchen, and he grabs me and throws me on the dining room table and stabs me on the table. And as we were shooting, because again, you're not rehearsing anything, you're just going, okay, where are the cameras? Where am I in frame? How quick can I run? Where can I grab you? Where are you gonna grab me? Like, we're just sort of talking through half speed to get the crew to kind of know, we see a boom there, we can't put the camera there, you gotta clear this couch, like, how am I going to jump over her when what do I do with the body to get to her so she's not already out of the room? Like, all these things are discussed, but you can't do it in real time until you yell action, and then you just kind of see what happens, you know. And again, that is physically as well as emotionally. Things come up that you're like, I never experienced. Like me laying on the floor screaming Lori, it was, I didn't know that was going to sound like that. But it was crazy that it sounded like that, because it was just in the moment. And then that became a thing for me over the years of, like, you know, like Scout, even we were doing our movie, she's like, you know, scream, you know, do your thing, you know, with what people want, that thing that from here. And I was like, what? That's so weird. She's like, you know what I'm talking about? I was like, oh, this one. And then I did it. She's like, yes, that one. I'm like, okay, I get it. But I ended up out the front door because we did the scene with the boyfriend, and Tyler was just too slow. And I was like, oh my God. So I was passing by the front door on the way to my mark in the kitchen. And he didn't get me quick enough. So I got out the door and I closed the door. And Rob was like, oh shit. But I wanted to be like, dude, you're gonna be fucking faster. Come on, I'm the sheriff's daughter. Like, pick it up a bit. Which he thought was funny. But then Rob Zombie was like, that's great. Let's put the camera across the street. You know, I want you to get out the door, and just as you're about to get free, I want him just to come grab you back and pull you back in. And ended up in the trailer, and it's like one of my favorite parts of that movie, and that was strictly by accident, but also by trust of, like, I trust myself enough to, like, and listen, if I was on a Tarantino film, I would not go out the front door. I would do exactly as he wanted me to do. I mean, I did a Tarantino film. You know, it's like every word lines, like, you don't fuck around. But horror, I feel a little more confidence. I've got the freedom to sort of make those choices, and directors are quicker to allow me to make those adjustments because they trust me too. So,
Is there I'll get to you right now. Is there a trend in horror that you're seeing as we have an evolution that's in modern horror that you like?
I'm just happy that everyone wants to be a part of it as much as it scares me. I mean, I'm happy for the recognition, at least, on how hard this is for a lot of us. And I always say, like, God, I would love to get, like, you know, one of these, like Kristen Bell. Like, come do a horror movie. Come do a low-budget indie horror film where you're working 16-hour days and you have to do all of this, and I would trade places with you in a second. But this is also, like, really good. It's like you sink your teeth into actor stuff, you know? So I'm hoping that the trend doesn't take our jobs from us.
Right, yeah.
But there's so much going on. I have no idea. Like, there's so many movies and different. It's all over the place. So I don't see a specific. You guys would know more than me. I don't see a specific trend happening. You know, yeah, like Substance, and there's always some kind of like
there's something
cool
for everybody.
things happening. But just, you know, horror goes with the times. So there should be some really interesting shit coming out in the next couple of years.
Yep. It's a great time to be a horror fan. I'll tell you that much.
It's true.
What's your question?
You're my husband's favorite actress, and he hurt his back last night and is upstairs still.
Oh, no.
I know, so I figured if I didn't ask you a question, I was going to hear about it for the next couple of months.
Sorry.
But I loved your guest appearance on Holliston. Love Holliston. What was one of the funnest ones that you've done? Like, you couldn't wait to go to work, the people were great, it was just a fun environment.
You know, the show Psych, I was just talking about, I did a guest spot on that show, and I had so much fun on that show that I thought, oh my God, if I could be a regular on a show like this would be amazing. Hence why it ran so many years, and everybody loves that show and those guys, and everyone that's worked on that show has talked about how much fun they've had on that set and how gracious the actors were. So I loved that. You know, otherwise episodic stuff is scary because you're like a new kid at school. You know, it's like first day of school and everyone like knows each other so well, and you're like, I don't know where to sit. Do I go back to my room? Do I like sit here? No one wants talking to me. So yeah, Psych was for sure one of my favorite projects.
All right, well, we are out of time. Thank you so much, Danielle. This has been an absolute joy to
Thanks.
chat with you. Give it up one more time for Danielle Harris.